Well, Janelle, things look pretty good here. I'm glad you got the color wheels in. Sometimes the pointers are a little hard to follow. It's not easy to see if you're pointing to, for triad, the primaries, red, blue, and green. The pointers for green and blue are a little bit off. Of course, we need 8 steps between uh, colors for a triad. Also, I will say with regard to triad and split complements that the assignment is asking for variations of the colors. So if you're just using the straight full saturated color, well, there's room for more complexity, there's room for more subtlety. Um, your colors look okay in analogous and tetrad, and I will say that those combinations seem to have that complexity I was just talking about. Now, for your final, I'm thinking that you could deal with matters such as transparency or illusions of depth, such as what we were studying back in week 4. Because there's overlapping in this design, there's room for investigation of those theories. And also, I'd like to suggest to you that you work on varying the stroke. It looks as though you're an illustrator. This design is okay, but I think it could get to be more complex or perhaps more specific in terms of placement of shapes. Hi, Megan. The color wheels you use include pointers that show the exact colors you've employed. And I want you to think about what I was just saying to Janelle. This assignment is actually asking for you to provide variations on the hues you select. And we see that with blue. Blue gets varied. But for instance, in triad, we've got a hot, fully saturated red for the dresser and a fully saturated beaming green for the bed, which are colors, we wouldn't see. So what I want you to do is to try to zoom in with your design. We need less floor, less exterior space, more bed, more furniture, more wall color, more rug, and see what you can do. I think you'll have a great time. All right. Hi, Hillary. I checked all of your color harmonies with the color picker and they are right on. Nice job. I also noticed that you've made a flower motif from hearts, which is kind of cool. It looks to me like you're an illustrator and that you've been playing with strokes successfully. I kind of like this tetrad harmony. When I take a close look at the flower petals, I see there are variations in the placement of the hearts. In other words, the gaps between them are not all the same. And while I understand that flowers are organic and they're not symmetrical, the way this design is laid out, it's so close to being symmetrical that you should go there. This reminded me a little bit of hex signs from Barnes, and I wonder whether you might want to dig around looking for examples of those for notions of how you could expand on what you've got. Also, if you include a color wheel in week 6 assignment 1, make sure it's in the margin. Well, hi, Cedric. You seem to be mastering filters in Photoshop, I'll guess. This looks like a tile design. I like the way things look beveled, and the tiles actually look to have a little variation in color, similar to glazing. However, you have not given us color harmony names or color wheels, so we don't know what you're after with the colors you've employed, which is a really big part of this assignment. So I would like to require you to use a color wheel with the appropriate colors pointed to and the harmony names in the margin of your week 6 assignment 1. All right. Hi, Cheryl. Your harmonies seem to be accurate. Among these designs, of course, there is a little variation. And I'm going to say that I really like the monochromatic one, not for the colors, great you, but for the spiraling line in the center, for the contrast between the white circles with their halves shifted a touch around the perimeter. That's just got a quality of poignancy that's really appealing. I think all these look a tad fuzzy, so I want you to check on resolution. It might just be because they're small. And you may be working in Photoshop. I will say that Illustrator is the better program for this, but we all have to start somewhere. You know, if you include a color wheel in your final, please make sure that it is in the margin. Hi, Renee. I can see a lot of care was taken here. With monochromatic, I think you do have a monochromatic harmony. However, it looks to me to be orange and not orange red. When I look at split complements, things look okay. However, the brown horizontals on either side of the door seem to be a red. So you want to limit yourself to just the 3 colors. Analogous is okay. With triad, all 3 colors should be 8 steps apart. Now, with regard to your design, you know, it's still looking a lot like an assembly of shapes. And I was thinking they might hang together better if there was a backdrop, for example, maybe even a sort of sidewalk underneath the stoop. And I was wondering about a doorknob even. So different directions you could go. Essentially, we want to make things a little more complex. You seem to be working in Illustrator. I would suggest, if you haven't been doing it already, I think you have been, that you try playing with stroke weight and color. Hi, Crystal. I think I've looked at these in a drafts review. Well, you know, you need to point to the exact colors you're using in that color wheel. And, for example, with triad, the colors need to be 8 steps apart. With split complements, you need colors on opposite sides of the color wheel, then take the neighbors of one of those colors. And with complements, you have to be clear across from each other, which is to say that you need a blue 1 step to the right, for example. Now, with a design like this, there's room for exploration of the theory to do with transparency and also the illusion of depth. I'd like you to try playing with stroke weight and color, for example. Hi, Joe. You know, your new analogous color harmony looks okay. And you've got a couple of other designs there. It looks like you might be shifting your ideas. I went to the discussion and didn't see mention of what you were up to there. It is okay to change ideas. Usually what people do is change to another idea that they had presented in the thumbnails for assignment 2. However, if you come up with a strong design, that's what's most important. Hi, Kathleen. You know, the file you sent was kind of smallish. Here, I'm showing it at actual size, so it's a little hard to see. I want to encourage you to give us a final project, assignment 1 next week, that is 600 pixels high or 800 pixels wide at the most. You know, all of your harmonies look right on. Looks to me like you're working in Photoshop, and I'm going to tell you that actually this sort of design might be best done in Illustrator, but everybody has to start somewhere. Now, a little criticism I might have is that the cross shape merges with the circle behind it. And that might be something you want, but it is a little ambiguous, and maybe you could provide more details there. It looks to me like there is a drape, a sash, maybe a shroud that's slung over the arms of the cross, and I'm just wondering if you can perfect the design there so that it reads like what you want us to understand it to be. Well, hi, Leanna. You know, I think if you just change the title of monochromatic to analogous, that particular design is going to be fine. You know, with complementary, well, you're not pointing to exact opposites on the color wheel, and I guess with regard to that and the colors you chose there, well, I would like to see a color wheel in the margin of your assignment 1 next week, you know, with the harmony name and the colors pointed to. Please be sure to do that. With triad, you're okay, and let's see, you have an analogous one there. So actually, this assignment was asking for 4 different harmonies. What could you do to make monochromatic correct? You need to use just one hue with its tints, tones, and shades. So if you went to blue with a color picker, you could choose a pale blue or a navy blue. Any blue from that particular field could be used in the design. Now, I'm not crazy about stars here, and I want you to push this design further. I believe you can do it. I want you to try experimenting with stroke weight and color and bring some elements aside from stars to the composition.